Hi. Welcome to the shop and this important stage in the building of this beautiful exterior door here. I was pretty excited to reach a stage. I've got it preliminarily fit, ready to start putting hardware, etc. My son came home, whose house this is going to go into, and he said, "Dad, I think the door looks really good, but why is it so tall?" I screwed up really bad. So this door inside of the frame in total is supposed to be 60 3/4 inches. I built it 80 3/4 inches, so no idea why I did that or how I managed to screw that up. You know, I make mistakes on every project, but this one is really a doozy. So I'm gonna go ahead and disassemble it, take it apart. My plan is to take the extra length just out of this bottom panel, so I'm gonna lose the proportionality and the symmetry of the door, but I don't think it's really gonna matter. It's a basement exterior door. It's down a couple of steps. It's partially hidden at the bottom. I'm really irritated that it's not going to look the way I want it to, but it's going to function and it's going to do the trick. So with the crowd chanting shame as I walk back through the door, I'm going to head out and then work on getting this fixed. So my first task in fixing my colossal screw up on this door is to cut the frame down to the appropriate size. So that bottom piece that makes it a stiff rectangle is not going to be there when the door is installed. That's just temporarily to hold it in place. So here I'm cutting the two side members down to the appropriate length. And then I screw the temporary bottom back on, so this guy really is just for me to stand it up to finish assembly, to help when I transport it to a location to put it in place. And I use one of my homemade squares here to make sure this ends up nice and square when I screw that bottom back in place. So now I'm marking the length the door is supposed to be. I'm going to mark that off nice and square versus one of the edges. And then using my track saw, I'm just going to cut through the stiles here, trying to avoid doing a whole lot of damage to the panel in between.
At this point, I still hadn't decided if I was going to cut that panel down and reuse it, or as you'll see, I ended up just making a new insert piece from scratch. But since I didn't know, I just took cut on one side, being careful to plunge down in, flip the door over, and then plunge from the other side to make sure I cut all the way through, and then separate the two pieces. So for the fix here, I decided to just make a new rail, and I'm going to simply put that into the end with mortise and tenons. So I just have to make tenons that match perfectly the grooves that are already in the stiles. So there I'm measuring the length from the bottom of the groove to the bottom of the groove, just simply cut to there. And then using a dado stack on the table saw and slowly sneaking up on the fit, I cut the tenons onto the end. So once I have confirmed I have a nice fit of those tenons, I go back to the table saw and finish cutting them to their full lengths. So with the joinery done, this rail now gets a groove in it to fit the bottom end of the new panel that I'm going to make. That's going to be the little mini panel, fixing the mistake from earlier. So the new panel piece is just simply prepared from a new piece of cedar deck board again. I cut it to its final dimensions, and then using the dado stack again, I just cut both ends as well as both sides to get a nice fit into the rails and the stiles. Even though I don't think it's going to be super visible, I decided to put a little bit of a chamfer onto the raised portion of the panel for this bottom one. It's not going to exactly match, but I think it'll make it look a little more similar to the full-size panels doing this. So finally I take my little mini panel, I slide it into place, tap it in so it's fitting nice and snug in the rail above. Since it's August and it's humid, I'm assuming that this is about as big as these panels are ever going to get, so any seasonal movement going forward is likely to just be shrinkage rather than any further expansion, so I made them reasonably tight. And then with a little bit of glue, I'm just going to go ahead and glue this final new rail into place. And then for the second time in this project, I'm going to have a completed door. And finally a clamp for good measure. And as always, thanks for watching.